let's just talk about a scene. So a scene is basically a section of a novel where a character or characters engage in action or dialogue. So what this means very simply is a scene is where your characters are doing something. That's it. And a character can be an inanimate object, it can be a haunted house, it can be a person, it can be an animal. It doesn't mean it has to be a human being. It's just whatever the character is that you have. And so they're doing something. The plot within the scene, so every scene will have a beginning, a middle, and an end. And so you need to know how to start it, you need to know how to get through the middle, and you need to know how to end it. So very similar to your entire novel, but a little piece of it. And then every scene will take place somewhere. So you have settings. You may have more than one setting or location within a scene, or you may not. But every setting is super important to what you're doing with your story. Okay, so what I want to talk about here is how to start your story edit. So you're going to imagine you've got your 80,000 words or 50,000 or 120,000, whatever it is for your genre and your story. And you're going to read through it and you're going to look at every place where the point of view character changes, where the location changes, or where the time changes, and mark your manuscript up. And the reason this is important is these are key places where you could start a new scene. So if you've kind of written your story, especially if you're a pantser, which I am, you might have written it without thinking logically, where should you start and end scenes? And it's important because when you end a scene, it's giving your reader a break. And what happens when you give your reader a break, they can take a breath, and that's great, but this is a point where they may put your book down because they've come to a nice break. So it's critical that you've written your scene that makes them want to start another scene. And I'll just make one little comment about scene break characters here, in that with the technology today, it's changed the way we have to write. And the reason it's done that, when you upload your book onto a Kindle, so say you're selling an ebook, you don't know where the page breaks are going to hit. And a scene break character gives the reader a place to look, so that they know a new scene is starting, and it triggers for them that something is changing in the scene. And it can be one of these things, and there's other reasons for scenes to change, but these are kind of the top three runners. And you want to make it super easy for your reader. So at this point, when you're starting your story edit for the first time, if you go through your novel and you mark each place where you have a point of view character change, and I'll talk about that in a minute, location change, time change, that'll give you a starting point of how to break out your scenes for your reader to make it easy and enjoyable for them to read your book, which is really important. Okay, when you put in scene break characters, it'll give you a visual eye for one, but you'll also see, as soon as you start a new scene, the scene before it, you ended it. So now you've got scene beginnings and scene endings. And here, you want to check that you leave with a good exit hook. So at the end of a scene, you want either a cliffhanger, so everybody knows what that is. You could do an unanswered question, a plot twist, a secret reveal, part of a secret reveal, the revelation. There's many things you can do here, but what's important is you want to leave the reader engaged so that they want to read that next scene. And they may not be reading it then, it may be bedtime and they're done for the night, but you want them the next day to be thinking, oh, I have to get back and see what happens. So all of these things leave a question in the reader's mind. And with that, it will draw the reader along and keep them reading your story.